term overall jacket in the context of MC cable refers to the outermost, non-metallic covering that encapsulates the entire cable assembly. This assembly includes the insulated conductors, the inner jacket if one exists, and the metallic armor. The primary function of the overall jacket is to provide an additional layer of protection against environmental factors such as moisture, chemicals, and physical abrasion. It is essential to distinguish the overall jacket from any inner jackets that might be present surrounding the individual conductors or a bundled group of conductors within the NC cable. Exception number 5 of NEC 310.15b2 provides specific conditions under which adjustment factors for opacity do not apply to MC cable without an overall jacket. To fully comprehend this exception, a thorough understanding of what constitutes an overall jacket is necessary. The overall jacket is not merely a thin layer of material. It is a substantial covering designed to withstand harsh conditions. It is typically made of a durable, non-metallic material such as PVC or a similar polymer. It is engineered to resist degradation for exposure to sunlight, chemicals, and extreme temperatures. The absence of an overall jacket exposes the metallic armor directly to the surrounding environment. This direct exposure can lead to corrosion, which compromises the integrity of the cable and potentially creates safety hazards. The overall jacket also provides a degree of electrical insulation, reducing the risk of accidental contact with the energized conductors within the cable. The NEC specifies requirements for the materials used in overall jackets, ensuring that they meet minimum standards for flame resistance, mechanical strength, and chemical compatibility. These requirements are intended to prevent the jacket from becoming a fire hazard or deteriorating prematurely in harsh environments. When determining whether an MC cable has an overall jacket, it is crucial to examine the cable's construction carefully. The overall jacket should completely enclose the metallic armor, providing a continuous, unbroken layer of protection. If the armor is visible or exposed in any areas, the cable does not have an overall jacket as defined by the NEC. It is important to note that the presence or absence of an overall jacket can affect the ampacity of the MC cable. Ampacity refers to the maximum amount of current that a conductor can carry continuously without exceeding its temperature rating. The NEC provides ampacity tables that specify the allowable ampacities for different types of conductors and cables. These tables take into account factors such as the conductor size, insulation type, and the ambient temperature. When MC cable is installed in conditions where multiple conductors are bundled together or routed through conduits, the ampacity must be adjusted to account for the increased heat generated by the conductors. These adjustments are intended to prevent the conductors from overheating, which can damage the insulation and potentially cause a fire. Exception number 5 of NEC 310.15b2 provides an exception to these adjustment factors for MC cable without an overall jacket under certain conditions. These conditions typically involve installations where the cable is exposed to free air and is not subject to excessive bundling or conduit fill. The rationale behind this exception is that the absence of an overall jacket allows the cable to dissipate heat more effectively, reducing the need for ampacity adjustments. However, it is crucial to carefully evaluate the specific installation conditions to determine whether this exception applies. Factors such as the ambient temperature, the number of conductors in the cable, and the presence of any nearby heat sources must be considered. In addition, it is essential to consult with a qualified electrical engineer or inspector to ensure that the installation complies with all applicable codes and regulations. The overall jacket also plays a role in protecting the cable from physical damage. The jacket is designed to resist abrasion, impact, and other types of mechanical stress that can occur during installation and operation. Without an overall jacket, the metallic armor is more vulnerable to damage, which can compromise the integrity of the cable. In corrosive environments, the overall jacket provides a barrier that protects the metallic armor from chemical attack. This is particularly important in industrial settings where cables may be exposed to acids, solvents, or other corrosive substances. The overall jacket also helps to prevent moisture from entering the cable, which can lead to corrosion and electrical faults. The NEC specifies requirements for the water resistance of overall jackets, ensuring that they provide adequate protection in wet environments. When selecting MC cable for a particular application, it is essential to consider the environmental conditions to which the cable will be exposed. If the cable will be installed in a harsh environment, such as a corrosive or wet location, it is crucial to choose a cable with an overall jacket that is specifically designed for those conditions. The overall jacket should be made of a material that is resistant to the chemicals or moisture that will be present in the environment. In addition, the jacket should be thick enough to provide adequate protection against physical damage. The installation of MC cable with an overall jacket requires careful attention to detail. The jacket should be inspected for any signs of damage before installation. Any damaged sections of the jacket should be repaired or replaced before the cable is installed. During installation, care should be taken to avoid damaging the jacket. The cable should be supported properly to prevent it from being subjected to excessive stress. The cable should also be protected from sharp objects that could puncture the jacket. After installation, the cable should be inspected regularly for any signs of damage. Any damaged sections of the jacket should be repaired promptly to prevent further damage to the cable. The NEC also addresses the grounding requirements for MC cable. The metallic armor of the cable is typically used as the equipment grounding conductor. The overall jacket helps to ensure that the grounding path is continuous and reliable. The jacket prevents the armor from coming into contact with other metal objects, which could create a ground fault. In summary, the overall jacket of MC cable is an important component that provides protection against environmental factors, physical damage, and electrical hazards. The absence of an overall jacket can affect the ampacity of the cable and may require ampacity adjustments under certain conditions. It is essential to carefully consider the environmental conditions and installation requirements when selecting and installing MC cable. Consulting with a qualified electrical engineer or inspector is recommended to ensure compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. The exception number 5 of NEC 310.15b2 is very specific and should not be misconstrued as a blanket waiver for ampacity adjustments. The installer has to perform due diligence to ensure that the conditions of the exception are met and documented. The exception reads as follows: adjustment factors shall not apply to type MC cable without an overall jacket under the following conditions: 1. Installed in free air, and 2. Supported by 1 hall straps, and 3. Were not subject to physical damage. Each of these conditions must be satisfied in order to take advantage of the exception. Firstly, the cable must be installed in free air. This means that the cable must be exposed to unrestricted airflow. It cannot be buried in insulation, routed through conduits, or bundled tightly with other cables. Secondly, the cable must be supported by 1 hole straps. This type of strap provides minimal contact with the cable, allowing for maximum heat dissipation. The straps must be installed at intervals that comply with the NEC requirements for cable support. Thirdly, the cable must not be subject to physical damage. This means that the cable must be located in an area where it is not likely to be struck, crushed, or otherwise damaged. The cable should be protected from sharp objects, heavy equipment, and other potential hazards. If any of these conditions are not met, the ampacity adjustment factors must be applied. It is important to note that the ampacity adjustment factors can significantly reduce the allowable current carrying capacity of the cable. Therefore, it is always preferable to install MC cable with an overall jacket whenever possible. The overall jacket provides additional protection and eliminates the need for ampacity adjustments in many cases. The NEC also contains requirements for the identification of MC cable. The cable must be marked with the manufacturer's name, the cable type, the conductor size, and the voltage rating. The cable must also be marked with the listing mark of a recognized testing laboratory, such as UL. The listing mark indicates that the cable has been tested and found to comply with applicable safety standards. The NEC also specifies requirements for the installation of connectors and fittings on MC cable. The connectors and fittings must be listed for use with MC cable and must be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. The connectors and fittings must provide a secure connection between the cable and the equipment to which it is connected. The connectors and fittings must also provide strain relief to prevent the cable from being pulled or twisted. When installing MC cable, it is important to follow all applicable safety precautions. The power must be turned off before working on any electrical circuits. The cable must be handled carefully to avoid damaging the insulation or the metallic armor. The cable must be supported properly to prevent it from sagging or straining. The connections must be made securely and inspected for any signs of loose wires or damaged insulation. In addition to the NEC, there may be local codes and regulations that apply to the installation of MC cable. It is important to check with the local electrical inspector to ensure that the installation complies with all applicable requirements. The electrical inspector can also provide guidance on specific installation issues and can help to ensure that the installation is safe and reliable. Proper planning is crucial when installing MC cable. The installer should carefully assess the site and map out the route of the cable. The installer should also determine the appropriate size and type of cable for the application. The installer should also gather all of the necessary tools and materials before beginning the installation. A well-planned installation will be more efficient, safer, and more reliable. Regular maintenance is essential to ensure the long-term reliability of MC cable installations. The cable should be inspected regularly for any signs of damage, such as cracks, abrasions, or corrosion. The connection should be checked for any signs of looseness or corrosion. Any damaged or corroded component should be repaired or replaced promptly. Proper maintenance will help to prevent electrical failures and ensure the safety of the installation. The overall jacket provides additional protection from corrosion, physical damage, and moisture. If the MC cable is installed in an area where it may be exposed to these elements, then an overall jacket is recommended. If the MC cable is not installed in an area where it may be exposed to these elements, then an overall jacket may not be necessary. However, it is always best to consult with a qualified electrician to determine the best type of MC cable for a particular application. The exception that allows for the omission of opacity adjustment factors in certain installations of MC cable without an overall jacket is conditional. It is imperative that all conditions outlined in NEC 310.15b2 exception number 5 are met in order to utilize this exception and not apply opacity adjustment factors. Any deviation from these requirements, such as the cable being routed through a conduit or installed in a location where it is subject to physical damage, necessitates the application of the appropriate opacity adjustment factors as specified in the NEC. The adjustment factors are in place for safety reasons, and the overcurrent protection device will not properly protect the conductors if they are loaded over their opacity. Furthermore, it is important to consider future changes or modifications to the electrical system. If there is a possibility that the MC cable will be rerouted, bundled, or subjected to physical damage in the future, it is prudent to install cable with an overall jacket to avoid the need for opacity adjustments. The National Electrical Code is updated every 3 years, so it is important to stay current with the latest requirements. The NEC is a complex document, and it is essential to have a thorough understanding of its provisions before installing any electrical wiring.